Hello friends, I am Vanshika Sharma and you are watching The Gen Z Reporter. Today's story isn't just about Nepal, it's about the power of a generation we assumed was only to food, fun and travel. What happened in Nepal is the tale of a government toppled in just 48 hours, the sacrifice of 19 young lives, and most importantly, a fight sparked against a social media ban that turned into a war against corruption and nepotism. So, the question is, are the same conditions present in India? Is Gen Z's anger boiling here too? So stay tuned because today we will discuss and decode the world's first successful Gen Z political revolution. September 4, the Nepal government banned 26 social media platforms in one swoop. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, WhatsApp, Twitter, all blocked. The government's excuse was this that we need to control fake accounts, hate speech, and cybercrime. But the real reason was a Nepo Kids campaign was running on social media, exposing the politicians' children living in luxury. September 8, thousands of young people took to the streets in schools and college uniforms in a decentralized manner. They chanted, KP Chor, Desh Chhod. That KP thief leave the country and stop the corruption, not the social media. September 9, police opened live fires. 19 young protesters were killed, most shots in the chests and head. That same day, PM KP Sharma Oli resigned. The parliament building was set ablaze. Friends, this was the world's first ever successful Gen Z political revolution and it happened in just 4 days. Now, let's understand what's the real anger about. Nepal's ground reality. 90% of people use the internet. Gen Zs, which are approximately 16 to 25 years of age, made up to 20% of the population. Millions of young people are forced to work abroad. Average annual income is $1,400. And the Nepo Kids issue, as Ravish Kumar explained, politicians' children never work to a 10 to 5 job, yet they drive luxury cars, stay in luxury hotels, travel abroad, and hold partnerships in big companies and secure top position in ease. The public asked, why is our tax money funding their lavish lifestyles? Examples of the corruptions. Money laundering allegations at the foreign minister's school. Arson at the Hilton Hotel. Rumored to be owned by the former PM's son. Attacks on ministers' residences. Multiple properties were targeted. Gen Z's message was crystal clear. Tax money is being stolen and our hard-earned income is ending up in the hands of politicians' children. Now compare traditional protests versus the Gen Z approach. In traditional protests, political parties led the movement. There were specific demands. Negotiations were possible, but in the Gen Z's approach, no political party's involvement is there. Organizers explicitly told the parties to stay away. TikTok coordination, which was not banned. School and college uniforms are symbol of purity and decentralized leadership. No single leader. Their unique demands were perfectly clear. Stop corruption, not the social media. Youth against corruption. End the Nepo Kids culture. We want transparent governance. A 22-year-old student said, leaders make promises during the elections but never follow through. They themselves create many of the problems. Friends, this was a purely Gen Z movement that succeeded. No traditional political structure, no old school negotiation, just pure youth power. This is not an isolated incident. Watch the domino effect. Sri Lanka 2022. Economic crisis and the public uprising toppled the government. Bangladesh 2024. Student protests forced Sheikh Hasina to flee. Nepal 2025. Gen Z protests led to the PM Oli's resignation. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, there was a parallel uprising. Protests against corruption, anger over economic inequality, attacks on the parliament building, and at least 10 deaths so far. MPs receive housing allowances 10 times the minimum wage. Fanning the public's outrage, Nepal's protesters were inspired by the anti-Nepo campaigns in the Philippines. Now, the critical question, is this a regional pattern of youth uprisings or just mere coincidental timings? With political instability in three neighboring countries between China and India, what are the geopolitical implications? Nayapar's brutal analysis shows India faces the same conditions: unemployment, corruption, and nepo kids. Similar patterns in India include SSC exam cancellations, students joining jobs, receiving training, and then having their hires cancelled. Railway accidents despite massive tax collections, infrastructure failures, bridges collapsing, airports faltering, ministers' children holding cricket board positions, and ethanol businesses without any qualifications. Let me give you some more examples. Jaitley's son as BCCI secretary, Nitish Gadkari's son in the ethanol business, Scindia's son in the MP cricket board, all without any qualification. The protective shield for these elites is blind faith. That mindset of if the bosses are set, we are set. And the media is complicit, not showing the real unemployment figures. Nayapal warned, if the media shows the truth, conditions like Nepal's could arise in India. A common tactic of governments worldwide is use social media control to suppress the youth. But in Nepal, it backfired. Seizing social media actually ignited the protests, filling Kathmandu streets the very next day. The lesson, friends, is very clear. You cannot suppress the youth through repression. Repressive policies won't last long. Today, what's needed is a systematic solution. Increase transparency, provide space for democratic expression, take real actions against corruption. For India, this is a warning. After Bangladesh, Nepal's instability should concern us. External powers succeed only when internal conditions are poor. Break old patterns and rigid lines. The generation we thought was apolitical has carried out the first political uprising in Nepal. If this is seen as a Gen Z revolution, it will reshape the world's view of Generation Z. Technology and frustration breed revolution. 90% internet penetration plus frustrated youth equals a powerful combination. Traditional political methods may become obsolete. In social media's era, successful revolutions spread rapidly. Now check Modi ji's priorities. Immediate 25-minute speech for a personal insult, but a 2-week wait for a public crisis. High priority for international summits, while domestic disasters are in a we'll see category. Friends, the lesson from Nepal is when leaders value their image over the public service, democracy suffers. Test for the real leadership. Personal pain versus the public welfare. International image versus the domestic reality. Political optics versus ground problems. Notice the damn coverage patterns. When the opposition was in power, floods commanded breaking news. And where is the CM campaigns? And under BJP's rule, the same floods receive minimal coverage, justified by the PM is busy with important work. If the media fulfills its duty, exposing unemployment, corruption, and nepotism, youth anger could channel into constructive directions. Notice the difference between the Nepalese and Indian media. Nepal at least provided some coverage. India remains in a complete silence on real youth issues. Now we have two paths. Option 1. Proactive reform. Take youth unemployment seriously. Act decisively against corruption and challenge nepotism and preserve the democratic space. And the option 2. Wait for the explosion. Await a Nepal-style uprising, then scramble to control the damage. Fight to protect democratic institutions. Gen Z's message is crystal clear. We want peaceful change, but if you don't undertake systematic reform, we have other options too. India's ground reality. Three unstable neighbors offer China opportunities. Regional stability is at stake, and India's strategic position is affected. Friends, the lesson from Nepal is that Gen Z's power is real. Our political power has proven, but violence is not the solution. We must use democratic channels and demand the accountability. Our commitment is to teach pattern recognition, conduct priority analysis, and encourage democratic participation and enhance the media literacy. And your part is to ask the questions. What should leaders' priorities be? Demand accountability for every decision. Increase media literacy, recognizing coverage patterns, and protect the democratic values. Final message. Change can come peacefully if we all ask the right questions. If you like this analysis, please like, share and subscribe and tell us in the comments. Do similar condition exists in India too? Do we need systematic reforms here too? Goodbye from the Gen Z Reporter. Keep asking questions until you find the answers.